Amendment number 11, pitch fees. I think it was, perhaps it's not, I wasn't close enough. Sorry, yeah, we've, so that is agreed that we've remove those amendments. So we now move along to amendment number 11, pitch fees. I invite Councillor Egan to propose your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's actually only on 2%, so it will be shorter than 3 minutes. So my amendment is to freeze pitch fees for all under 18s and under 16s and mini bookings and offset the loss in proposed income by increasing the adult pitch fee cost. This amendment is set to help young families with the cost of living while not costing the council a single penny in lost revenue in the budget. Only a few months ago, the Youth Sport Trust published an article in the Fear that young people are being priced out of sport. New research shows parenting money worries mean that kids are being stripped of sport and fitness opportunities due to lack of funds. Over the past year, nearly a third of parents have said that their child has missed out on a sporting opportunity over the cost of living. Imagine, you're a kid living in Swale, there's no pay rise coming your way until 13 years of age. And yes, there are exceptions obviously, but it's a question of moving the increase onto adults who are more likely to have a stable income than a bunch of kids. Look, nobody wants to be whacking up the fees for adults either. I do kind of but you know, as has been said, you know, they're in generally a better position than children when it comes to having a stable income. At times like now, it is these small amendments which can make a big difference. We are debating taking money off elsewhere. We're debating the best opportunity to get the best outcome from what we have before us. Members have the opportunity to back a cost-neutral amendment to help the young people at Swale. The freeze of charges for the under 18s in the borough will give members the opportunity to help tackle the concerns around sports and address the long-term from charity to ensure that young people are not priced out of being active. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. I'd now like to call Councillor Ingleton to second the amendment and ask if you wish to speak now or reserve your right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I reserve my right.
Thank you. You are seconding the amendment. In accordance with procedure rule 13.1.14.3, section 151 officer has advised the following. The change to the proposed charges would require a period of consultation. The amended fees would be set out as on the table paper. So we all have the you've all had the table paper. So therefore I open the debate up to the floor. Councillor Harrison.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. It's not really a debate because I was actually thinking of supporting this. If there's got to be a period of consultation, it's usually, oh yeah, you've got to do 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 9 weeks, whatever. These proposals are for 1st of April onwards, am I correct? And if they're for 1st of April onwards, how does it tie in with the consultation period? Because you wouldn't be able to increase the adults and keep the juniors as is if you haven't had that consultation period. So what I'm talking about is there going to be a gap for implementation which could well affect the budget? So I don't know what the consultation period is. Thanks.
Sorry, Angie, could you just briefly repeat your question?
Was it loud? Was it not loud enough? Okay, let's try and cut it down. Is there going to be a gap in money coming in because of this? Because we haven't had the consultation period yet. the increase is supposed to take effect from the 1st of April, am I correct? If the consultation period is still going on, then there'll be a gap in terms of money coming in.
Thank you.
Hang on, Mike, sorry. Yeah, right, no, sorry, could you just hold fire a second?
So I'd like to propose an amendment if I can, sir.
Right, Councillor Bonnie indicated that she wanted to speak, so I'll take Councillor Bonnie first.
Cheers, thank you. I think this is a game of semantics, quite honestly, because quite a lot of the money for children's things comes from the adults. So whether you ship it one way or the other, what concerns me is it requires a period of consultation, which quite honestly, we are short-staffed. This is another consultation period that takes away from the priorities of this administration and resources, and there's a whole load of, quite honestly, work unnecessarily from just shipping costs from the youth to the adults. You could call it ageism if you like. And I don't believe this has an overarching benefit to any particular party, because we are promoting health and well-being across the board, not just to the youth, but to our adults. So quite honestly, I don't really see the benefit of this.
Councillor Walton, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I think this is, I accept, symbolic, but what we are trying to do is suggest that if we start people on a healthy lifestyle when they are young, there is more chance that they will continue a healthy lifestyle into adulthood. I think the issue about the transition period and cost is a bit of a red herring, and if my sons are right, I think there was something in the order of £3,500 left over after we did the CAB, which would more than cover it, I'm sure. This is about us giving a clear message that we are supporting the child in their health and development. It's far more about that than it is a few quid one way or the other. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Walton. I don't see anyone else indicating, so, sorry, Councillor Whiting. Councillor Whiting, no, Councillor Henderson first, I do apologise.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This worries me somewhat. I don't think it's giving out a hugely strong message. It's giving out a message to cut some fees by a couple of quid and increase other fees by up to £4. That's hardly a dramatic change. However, we don't know what the impact would be. And so I, for one, would not want to approve this at the moment. I would be perfectly happy that not instantly do we jump forward, but it is a reasonable idea to look at balancing charges. We can look at it over the next 12 months and change it in the next budget if that proves to be worth doing. But I have to say I'm dubious, and we certainly don't know. I think the proposer said adults are more likely to have a steady income. Well, my ward has high degrees of deprivation, and there are an awful lot of adults without steady income and with time in their hands and no money to play football or any other game. So I don't think this is worth just taking a punt when we've considered fees and charges very carefully at P&R, at scrutiny, sorry, not scrutiny, audit, and making a quick decision now, I don't think is the right thing.
I have other speakers, but
Microphone.
beg pardon. I have other speakers that have indicated to me, but there might be a way that we can move forward with this. So I'd like to invite Councillor Baldock to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Having spoken to the Section 105 officer, if that was the cap she was wearing at the time. 105? 151 officer. The actual amounts are very small, less than the 3,500 that we would have left from the bin money if we froze all fees in total. All the pitch fees, yeah, not the lot. If we froze all the pitch fees in total, we could cover that from the extra bit of money left from the new bin money. So that's an amendment to the amendment.
Seconded.
Seconded by Councillor Horton.
Agreed.
Need me bell here. Ding, 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 ding. Right, we have a proposal for amendment to the amendment, which has duly been seconded by Councillor Horton. And on this occasion, I will allow the amendment to the amendment. So, in saying that, we have to do a recorded vote. So, we're having a recorded vote on the amendment proposed by Councillor Baldock and duly seconded by Councillor Horton, that the fees for pitches, am I correct, can be frozen and funded from the remainder of the increase on bin revenue for new homes. That one out. Right, so Councillor Baldock.
4.
Councillor Bonney.
4.
Councillor Bowen.
4.
Councillor Carnell.
4.
Councillor Roger Clark. 4. Myself 4. Councillor Davey.
4.
Councillor Dendor.
4.
Councillor Eakin.
4.
Councillor Gibson.
4.
Councillor Gould.
4.
Councillor Anne Hampshire.
4.
Councillor Nicholas Hampshire.
4.
Councillor Harrison.
4.
Councillor Henderson. 4. Councillor Horton.
4.
Councillor Ingleton.
4.
Councillor Jackson.
4.
Councillor Jays. 4. Councillor Knights.
4.
Councillor MacDonald.
4.
Councillor Archington.
4.
Councillor Martin.
4.
Councillor McColl.
4.
Councillor Neil.
4.
Councillor Nisanga.
4.
Councillor Palmer.
4.
Councillor Perkin.
4.
Councillor Pugh.
4.
Councillor Rolls.
4.
Councillor Saunders.
4.
Councillor Simmons.
4.
Councillor Stephen.
4.
Councillor Stephen.
4.
Councillor Thomas.
4.
Councillor Truelove.
4.
Councillor Valentine.
4.
Councillor Whelan.
4.
Councillor Whiting.
4.
So that amendment to Amendment 11 is carried. Thank you, Ma'am. Bear with me 1 minute, members. Members, so I've been advised that as we've voted, even though we voted unanimously to the amendment of the amendment, the amended amendment now becomes a substantive amendment. Yes. So we now need to take a recorded vote on the substantive amendment. If you understand, because I'm sure I don't.
Mr. Mayor,
Councillor Gibson.
can I just ask you a quick question? I don't know whether we're allowed to do this, but for me, we could show a show of hands, and if there's anybody against what I'm saying, could I
I'm
do that
afraid
way?
we can't. It has to be a recorded vote.
Okay, thank you.
Right, so we'll get through this as quick as we can. Councillor Baldock. 4. Councillor Bonny.
4.
Councillor Bowen.
4.
Carnell. 4. Councillor Roger Clark. Left the room. Hopefully he'll come back before we finish. Councillor Simon, that's me. Yep, I'm in agreement. Councillor Davey.
4.
Councillor Dendor.
4.
Councillor Eakin.
4.
Councillor Felsen here. Councillor Gibson.
4.
Councillor Gould.
4.
Councillor Anne Hampshire.
4.
Councillor Nicholas Hampshire.
4.
Yeah, all right. Councillor Harrison.
4.
Henderson. Councillor Alton.
4.
Councillor Ingleton. 4. Councillor Jackson.
4.
Councillor Jays. 4. Councillor Knights.
4.
Councillor McDonald.
4.
Councillor Martinson.
4.
Councillor Martin. 4. Councillor McCall.
4.
Councillor Neil. 4. Councillor Sanger. Councillor Sanger. Councillor Palmer. 4. Councillor Perkin.
4.
Councillor Pugh.
4.
Councillor Rolls.
4.
Councillor Saunders.
4.
Councillor Simmons.
4.
Councillor Paul Stephen.
4.
Councillor Sarah Stephen.
4.
Councillor Thomas.
4.
Councillor Truelove.
4.
Councillor Valentine. Councillor Whelan. 4. Councillor Whiting. 4. That's carried. 4. Carried unanimously. Thank you, members. Right, we once all the amendments have been done, which we've done, I now open up the debate for members to speak on the substantive motion, and I have Councillor Horton first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We might want to extend standing orders again fairly soon, but I'll try and get it done before then. That's my original set of notes, and I've virtually ripped them apart. And the reason I've done that is because this evening it's been an extremely constructive and worthwhile process. Before I go into it though, can I take this opportunity, because I only get to speak under much more important issues like the Treasury Management Strategy, the pay policy report and the adoption of the new Code of Conduct. Can I take this opportunity to congratulate both Councillor Stevens and Councillor Gibson on their selection as Mayor and Deputy Mayor. That is good choices and fully supporting it. I'm pleased tonight that we've agreed some amendments to the budget, changes that make life a bit easier for some, including helping our lowest paid staff and giving some important partners more money for their vital work. I think we have demonstrated that we are stronger together, and we are in this room to do the very best we can for our residents. Sometimes our debate is actually about what we think is the very best we can and what we think is the most important and what for each of us is a priority. I think it's sad that we are grubbling for scraps, but it's because of the finances of the council. I could go on and say that we don't accept the narrative that this is all someone else's fault. Some of the position that we find ourselves in is a result of the choices that the administration has made over the last 4.5 years. And I do want to talk specifically about one of those and pick up on some points that Councillor Harrison made. This budget, sorry, Councillor, no, okay. This budget has a cost for our staff and for our residents. And unfortunately, we are at the precipice of a bit of a slippery slope. Rather than pay the staff a cost of living increase, the proposal is to cut their hours. And I'm not sure whether it's with their consent or not.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, and sorry to interrupt you, Councillor. Can I propose we extend standing orders?
Councillor Bowen, thank you. I was just about to do that. Members agree with extend standing orders?
Agreed.
Thank you.
No, that's entirely correct. We're cutting their hours, apparently, whether they like it or not. Some I'm sure will love it and are probably already planning what they'll do with their
30
Friday
seconds
afternoon.
remaining.
Some of our staff may not be able to afford to maintain their salary at the current level. And I believe that we might want to explore offering each one choice rather than impose the cut. Hopefully it's not too late to do so, and some staff may take a larger reduction and pay for some of those who can't afford to. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Horton. Councillor Trudeau, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will be brief and just make a few contextual comments on the budget without going into all the items of it. Councillor Horton says we can't blame the government, and Councillor Simmons tried heroically to claim that government funding has been maintained. It hasn't. Even if you add in the new homes bonus, the funding from government to support revenue budgets has fallen substantially in the last 10 years, at the same time as an increase in expectations of what we provide. And of course, we also have got inflation, which is a reflection of the total economy. It draws attention to the 34 hours a week. That is subject to consultation. It isn't imposed. There is a period of consultation, and if the outcome of that was such that it would not be appropriate for us to proceed, we would have to consider variance to the budget. Oh, that's my understanding. Looking ahead, I think the leader is quite right. If the government doesn't soon get local government funding right, and every year we hear about the review and then it's been abandoned, then local government isn't going to be what it is. We just simply can't go on like this. And it's, as you obviously aware, it's not us. We've done very much better than most of the local authorities. We aren't introducing draconian cuts like cases are having to do to adult services, to support for children with special needs, to bus services, to the highways budget, a whole load of rough. And I'd be the first to admit they've got little alternative because they haven't got the income to do that. My own view is that next year we'll be having the last budget round before a general election. Given that Conservative controlled councillors all over the country are distressed by the lack of support from the government, I don't think we will get such a bad settlement next year, because that would be electorally disastrous for the government, and even this government can perceive that that would happen. I think we have done extraordinarily well.
30 seconds remaining.
Thank you. We have done extraordinarily well, and it's down to the leadership of the council and the league members of the council, but it's also down to our finance department, because it has been months and months of struggle. And the last thing I want to say is this evening has been very good. We've seen the administration accept opposition amendments. Before that, what we got was bullying and shouting from the leader of this council. Why didn't you bring this forward before? Why do you bring it to the council meeting? Basically bullying people not to argue for their amendment. It's been different this evening. We're open, democratic. We've listened to people. We've come out with very good solutions, because under this administration, we don't shout back at people and say, you know, it's rubbish that you're having these amendments at this stage. We've taken your amendments into account, and the outcome has been a good one.
That's 3 minutes. Thank you.
I know it is. And that's one of the reasons why this is a better council than it was before 2019. Thank you. All right, thank you.
Councillor Martin, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not going to repeat what's been said about being constructive of that. What I will point out is that this budget is as good as it can be. No one wants to be cutting. We all understand that. But there are some really positive elements in there. We concentrate on the negatives a lot tonight, but there are positive elements in here. There's positive support for affordable housing and temporary accommodation in the capital programme, which will have long-term impacts in this borough, reducing our temporary accommodation costs. So there's stuff in here that is really, really good. But we're going to niggle over pitch fees. We're going to niggle over a few grand here and there. Actually, what we've got is a really good budget. And we have to remember that our finance gods were here right up. Was it Christmas Eve? You finally got the figures from central government of what we were going to get in our allocation. Last year, I think it was the day after Boxing Day. And the year before that, it was Christmas Eve again. There's no stable plan for local government at the moment. We've been promised a review of what our financial situation is going to be, what our settlement's going to be. It's no good giving us a one-year settlement, keep going forward. We need to have stability to plan medium term.
Right.
And I'm sure the officers were probably pulling their hair out going, how the hell do I say that this is going to be sustainable for 5 years when I don't know what I'm getting next year? It doesn't work. And I know that all of us, through our LGA groups and through the LGA and other associations, are pushing back and asking the question and using all that we can. And that's all any of us can do. And as I say, around the table tonight, we have had an awful lot of we agree. And that's a real positive, regardless of what side of the fence you're on. I've always believed that in local government, we agree on 90% of the stuff. It's just a question of that final 10% of how something gets done. For my mind, this has been a very productive night. Thank you.
Councillor Martin. I see no one else indicating. So, Councillor Bonney, you reserve your right. Sorry, Councillor Simmons, I do apologise. Councillor Simmons.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You did nod in my direction just now. Councillor Hall wonders whether you were dozing off, but I'm sure that's not true. I'd like to start by actually giving credit to the officers, because I do think they've done a very good job, and I know that my colleague spent a lot of time with the Section 151 officer prior to this evening. There were two things I just wanted to say that I'm concerned about, and I just think it's worth flagging them up. Firstly, to do with car parking charges. I'm delighted to hear, Leader, that you're going to call for a review. I think that introducing evening charges is a retrograde step. I don't know that it will raise the income that we expect it will raise. I think it'll have an adverse effect on our evening economy. And if you take, for instance, Faversham, which I know something about, more than perhaps more than Sheppey, there are a lot of single yellow line roads in Faversham where people can park after 6 o'clock. And you can also park in Court Street in the marketplace and lower part of Preston Street after 6 o'clock in the evening. So I'm not sure that it will raise income. All it will do is mean there'll be more on-street parking. That's the first thing. The second thing is I'm very concerned about the increased charge for brown bins, for the discretionary service which we provide for brown bins. It's understandable that when there have been problems with bin collections, that the residual waste and recycling has been prioritised, but it is a fact that many brown bin collections have been missed, and some people who've subscribed have had about 5 or 6 misses, and they are added on to the end of their contract. There are a number of people who are saying to me, well, it's not worth paying for this extra service because it's not good enough. I'm concerned if we're serious about increasing our recycling rates by increasing the rate for a brown bin by, I think, 22% or something rather. I think that may have an effect on people renewing their subscription. I understand that the amount of subscriptions has reduced
30 seconds
in the last
remaining.
few months, and it's down below 18,000 now, where it's been nearer 20,000. So there is a concern there, Mr. Mayor and Leader, which I think needs to be addressed going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Simmons. Councillor Bowen, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As an observation and possibly for consideration for maybe next year's. In previous years, and you won't be surprised, I'm going to talk about this, fees and charges used to come to the scrutiny committee back in November. It would come to this council January time, before the budget is discussed. We could have had the discussion about the fees and charges weeks ago. And if we had done that, we could have been in the best position in terms of actually thinking about what have we got in terms of the eventual pot of money to inform the budget discussion tonight. We could have saved some time. It's a question for thinking about. But not like just thinking about the future. In terms of the actual budget itself, did last year in terms of the car parking fees for the half an hour, bring it up to 60 pence, and the fact that I thought that was a silly amount to do so, because it then required people to have at least 2 coins in their pocket, or you're going to be paying over the odds. This year we're seeing an increase to 65 pence. I'm not sure that many people actually go around 5p, so I think we are taking money from the residents, and at a time where it was mentioned earlier about having pounds. Every penny matters at the moment, and we seem to be wanting to hit the residents and potentially impacting the high streets on these pricing or parking fees for 5p. I think that's ridiculous, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Councillor Bowen. I don't have anyone else on my list, I don't believe, so we now go back to Councillor Bonny, please.
Thank you. Well, this budget is one of difficult decisions. And I have to say, this is my 16th year of being a councillor. And it's the first time really I can truly say, I actually feel quite proud that there has been agreement and proper discussion. In the previous administration, I felt thoroughly depressed, as some of those in opposition might currently feel. But at least they've had a valuable input tonight and had a chance to influence our budget. And that, I think, we can be proud of. To use the words of Councillor Horton, we've got to be fleet of foot in all-encompassing. And I think we have been. We've shown that. We've got extremely limited options as to what we can do to increase our revenue. And I hear what you say on car parking, and I think there's some truth there. But my plea is, over the next year, when we review car parking charges, is that we look at user impact. And that's the impact on the high street, the impact on the businesses, and the impact on the users. Because it's no good us going and charging and then finding that our tenants, for argument's sake, because we are now an owner in Bourne Place, go bust as a result of us putting up our car parking charges. So this has to be factored in the round, but that's not for tonight. That's for the future, and that's for us to take on board. We've got a difficult role in maintaining our current bin contract. We've got a new one coming on board, and there will always be problems handing from one to another. That is always a problem. As we go forward, we've got to have something left in the cupboard for next year. And I think what we've done is we've not emptied it. We've not left the note, sorry, there's nothing left. But we do have to be mindful, and I would encourage that you all vote for this budget tonight after the pain we've just been through.
Thank you, Councillor Bonney. Now, as the proposer of the original motion, I ask Councillor Baldock if you wish to sum up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And like the Leader of the Opposition, much of what I was going to say I will not be saying now. It has been constructive and productive evening. I think we're all agreed, and I've heard nothing to the contrary, that we have to put a 3% increase in the council tax. That's the bottom line here. 3% increase in the council tax is how you come to that we've been debating. Slightly sad, however, that before this evening's meeting, a different version appeared in the newspapers. And I think that's quite sad. After what we've debated today, we have spent millions of pounds on vanity projects. I wonder, I didn't hear anybody say anything about that tonight. The pet press might accept it. We wouldn't have accepted it if you'd have had the audacity to come here and try and make those claims. What vanity projects are they? Millions of pounds of them. Fuel poverty. A heavy expenditure on the maintenance of our own assets. Maintenance the previous administration neglected for years. Instead of spending money on keeping our assets in shape, they allow them to deteriorate, and we've picked up that mess. That's where that vanity projects are. Projects like Master's House, Sheerness Clock Tower, and indeed the energy wasting state of this very building. I'll skip the next bit. But we're also told we wasted hundreds of thousands of pounds on planning appeals. I can't remember who that was attributed to, but whoever it was, I would remind them the most expensive appeal, indeed the only one that cost over £100,000, was the Barton Hill Drive appeal. And the opposition to that scheme was largely led by one of his own team. I'd further remind Council, all planning appeals that we have thought have been ones that their own members voted to reject at the planning committee. Was he suggesting we should ignore the votes of the cross-party planning committee or sham residents by not fighting the appeals?
30 seconds left.
Oh dear. What this shows really is that's not really part of this budget. The problems we are facing come down to income and expenditure on the base budget, not one-off spending. And even with this proposed increase, Swale has one of the lowest council taxes in Kent. But that itself means that 3% can go less far than 3% on higher council tax rates. And why have we such a low base? As I've mentioned earlier, the party opposite failed to raise council tax for several years, leaving us short of £1 million in our base budget and over £11 million in reserves. Our
That's
car
3
parks
minutes.
remain amongst the lowest in Kent, and we have decided that raising them is one of the few options we have. I think we've done a jolly good job. I think you've helped us, so let's all together support this budget and go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baldock. Right, we now move through then, and there will be a recorded vote on the agenda item 11, the substantive motion. Now, could I again remind you to use your microphones when replying? Councillor Baldock. 4. Councillor Bonney.
4.
Councillor Bowen.
Against.
Councillor Carnell.
4.
Councillor Roger Clark. Myself 4. Councillor Darby's not here. Councillor Davey.
4.
Councillor Dendor.
Against.
Councillor Eakin.
Against.
Councillor Gibson.
4.
Councillor Gould.
4.
Councillor Ann Hampshire.
Against.
Councillor Nicholas Hampshire.
Against.
Councillor Harrison.
4.
Councillor Henderson.
Some reluctance, 4.
Councillor Horton.
I abstain.
Councillor Ingleton.
Abstain.
Councillor Jackson.
4.
Councillor Jays.
4.
Councillor Knights.
4.
Councillor MacDonald.
4.
Councillor Marchington.
Abstain.
Councillor Martin.
4.
Councillor McCall.
4.
Councillor Neal.
Abstain.
Councillor Nasanga.
4.
Councillor Palmer.
4.
Councillor Perkin.
4.
Councillor Pugh.
Abstain.
Councillor Rolls.
4.
Councillor Saunders. 4. Councillor Simmons.
Against.
Councillor Paul Stephen.
4.
Councillor Sarah Stephen.
4.
Councillor Thomas.
4.
Councillor Truelove. 4. Councillor Valentine. 4. Councillor Whiting.
Against.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
So, I'm sorry, Councillor Whelan, sorry.
4.
Good job someone reminded you. I didn't know whether you'd actually nodded off, Councillor Whelan.
Good night.
So, members, the results of the agenda item 11, 26 votes in favour, 8 against, 5 abstentions. Members. Right, so we now move on then to agenda item 12, Treasury Management Strategy.
Mr Mayor, I'd be quite happy to move the recommendation if that helps.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Seconded.
So we have a proposal, we have a seconder, Councillor Baldock or Councillor Bonney, you can fight amongst yourselves who wants to. Councillor Bonney seconds. All those in favour of agreeing agenda item 12? That would appear to be unanimous. Members? Agenda item 13, pay policy report. I invite the leader to propose a recommendation.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This has been through P&R. We've looked at this. It's a good statement, and I'd like to move both recommendations. Thank you.
Yes.
Do you want to speak now or reserve? Or?
No, I'm quite happy to.
Okay.
Yeah, quite.
Councillor Halton?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm quite happy that we move on, but I am a little concerned that we might appear to the public to be not giving due thought and consideration to what are actually quite serious issues. I know that this is a responsible council, and I know that you have all read the papers, and I know that you fully understand the implications of what are in these papers, and on that basis I'm happy to proceed quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Halton. Members, any comments, questions? All those in favour, please show. Those in the chamber, unanimous. Members, agenda item 14, adoption of the new code of conduct. Councillor Perkin.
I'd like to move the recommendation. Thank you.
Councillor Baldock.
Happy to second, Mr Mayor. I reserve my right.
Councillor Halton.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. And can I take the opportunity to thank the Chief Executive for taking the time to brief members on this paper before the meeting, and furthermore to undertake a training programme after the election of both existing members who survive and those who are new to the council. This code of conduct is far clearer, far better, and I think far more easily understood than the previous version. I guess my one concern would be a code of conduct with no teeth in it is only as good as the members who abide by it. Thank you.
Councillor Martin, please.
I'll keep it fairly brief. This policy's gone through pretty much every committee it could possibly go through, but I wanted to extend my thanks to Councillor Perkin and to the Chief Executive for guiding it through there, and our monitoring officer for guiding it through and bringing it forward. It's proof that the Standards Committee can do some very good things.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Councillor Baldock, waiting your right to. So we'll take it straight to the vote. Then all those members in agreement, please show. Unanimous. Thank you, members. Well, we now move on to agenda item 15. It's been withdrawn, so we don't need to express the public. And members, you'll be happy to know that that concludes this evening's agenda.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just just wanted to highlight for those who weren't at the training earlier this evening, being agreed as code of conduct, it is in immediate effect.
We need to confirm the location.
Yes, please.
Do you want to say? Do you want to say it?
Right, those members